Picture this: warm, gooey chocolate chip cookies fresh from the oven, crunchy candy shells cracking between your teeth, velvety cake melting on your tongue, a waffle cone overflowing with ice cream on a hot summer day. Is your mouth watering right now? Can you almost taste it? Good, because that reaction, that craving you're feeling this very second, is being manufactured by your brain. And the way sugar hijacks your brain's reward system is disturbingly similar to how drugs do it. Let me show you exactly what's happening inside your head. First, let's talk about what sugar actually is. Sugar is a general term for a category of molecules called carbohydrates, and it comes in far more forms than most people realize. Glucose, fructose, sucrose, maltose, lactose, dextrose, starch, high fructose corn syrup, raw sugar, honey, fruit juice concentrates. These are all forms of sugar. And here's where it gets sneaky. Sugar isn't just hiding in candy bars and desserts. It's been quietly added to foods you'd never suspect. Tomato sauce, yogurt, dried fruit, flavored water, and even those healthy granola bars sitting in your pantry. Check the labels next time. You'll be shocked at how many different names sugar hides behind. Since sugar is virtually everywhere in our modern diet, understanding what it does to your brain isn't just interesting, it's essential. So let's follow the journey. What actually happens from the moment sugar touches your tongue to the moment it rewires your brain's reward system? Let's say you take a bite of a granola bar. The sugar it contains immediately activates something called taste receptors, specialized sensors located all across your tongue. The moment sugar hits them, they fire. These receptors send an electrical signal racing to your brainstem, the relay station at the base of your brain. From there, the signal is distributed to multiple areas of the brain simultaneously. One of the most important destinations? The cerebral cortex. Different sections of the cortex are designed to process different tastes: bitter, salty, umami, and in our case, sweet. But here's where things get interesting. The sweetness signal doesn't just register the taste and move on. It does something far more powerful. It activates your brain's reward system. And once that system turns on, the real story begins. Your brain's reward system is one of the most powerful circuits in your entire body. It's a complex network of electrical and chemical triggers that stretch across multiple regions of the brain. And despite its complexity, it exists to answer one simple, subconscious question. Should I do that again? That warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you taste your grandmother's chocolate cake? That rush of pleasure when the sweetness hits? That's your reward system screaming, "Yes, do that again." And food isn't the only thing that triggers it. Socializing with friends, romantic connection, even certain drugs, they all activate this same reward circuit. But here's the problem. When this system gets overactivated, when it's triggered too intensely or too frequently, a cascade of unfortunate events begins. Loss of control, intense cravings, and a growing tolerance, meaning you need more and more of the substance just to feel the same reward. Sound familiar? It should, because that's the exact same pattern seen in addiction. But before we get to why sugar is so dangerously unique, let's follow that granola bar a little further into your body. After your granola bar leaves your mouth, it travels down to your stomach and then into your intestines. And here's something most people don't know. There are sugar receptors in your gut, too. They don't taste flavor the way your tongue does, but they do send critical signals to your brain. They tell your brain when you're full. They signal your body to produce more insulin to manage the extra sugar you're consuming. So your brain is receiving sugar signals from two completely different locations, your tongue and your gut, simultaneously. It's a double hit, and your reward system is paying very close attention. Which brings us to the real star of this story, the molecule that makes your brain fall in love with sugar. The main currency of your brain's reward system is a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger that carries signals between brain cells, and it is the molecule responsible for making you feel pleasure, motivation, and desire. In your forebrain, there are clusters of dopamine receptors, dense hotspots that are part of the reward system. When something pleasurable happens, dopamine floods these hotspots, and you feel good. Now, here's where it gets dangerous. Drugs like alcohol, nicotine, and heroin send dopamine levels through the roof. The surge is so massive and so unnatural that it drives some people to constantly chase that high, over and over again. In other words, to develop an addiction. Sugar also triggers the release of dopamine. Not as intensely as drugs, that's important to note. But here's what makes sugar uniquely dangerous among foods. Sugar is one of the only foods that triggers dopamine release every single time you eat it. Consistently, reliably, without fail. Broccoli? No dopamine spike. Grilled chicken? Nothing special. Brown rice? Your brain barely notices. And that might explain why it's so incredibly hard to convince a kid to eat their vegetables, but they'll always say yes to candy. Let's run an experiment in your mind. Imagine you're hungry and you sit down to eat a balanced, healthy meal. You enjoy it, and when you eat it, dopamine levels spike in your reward system. You feel satisfied. But now imagine eating that exact same meal the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Something strange happens. Each time you eat the same food, the dopamine spike gets smaller and smaller, until eventually it flatlines. Your brain stops rewarding you for eating that meal. Why would your brain punish you for eating healthy food consistently? Because of evolution. Your brain evolved to pay special attention to new and different tastes. There are two survival reasons for this. First, to detect if food has gone bad. A familiar food that suddenly tastes different could be dangerous. Second, and this is the big one, the more variety in your diet, the more likely you are to get all the nutrients your body needs to survive. So your brain developed a system that rewards novelty and punishes repetition. It needs you to seek out new foods. That's why the dopamine drops when meals become boring and predictable. It's a brilliant evolutionary design until sugar breaks the entire system. Now here's the critical moment, the part that changes everything. What happens if, instead of that healthy, balanced meal, you eat food loaded with sugar? If you rarely eat sugar, or you only eat a small amount, the effect is exactly the same as a balanced meal. A normal dopamine spike. Nothing alarming. But if you eat sugar frequently, or in large amounts, something different happens. The dopamine level doesn't drop. Unlike every other food on the planet, sugar keeps triggering that reward signal. Again and again, meal after meal, day after day. Your brain never stops feeling rewarded. And that is exactly how drugs work. This is why people get hooked on sugary foods. This is why one cookie leads to 3. This is why just a taste turns into an empty box. And remember, sugar comes in dozens of different forms: glucose, fructose, sucrose, maltose. Every single one of them triggers that same domino effect in your brain, that same dopamine reward, that same pleasure signal. The hit is powerful. It happens constantly, and most people don't even realize they've exceeded the limit until they're already dependent. Now, before you swear off sugar forever, here's the good news. Overconsuming sugar can create a dependency in your brain. That's real. That's science. But a piece of cake once in a while? That won't hurt you. A scoop of ice cream on a summer day? Your brain can handle that just fine. The key is understanding what's happening inside your head, so you can make choices with awareness, not addiction. And now you know exactly what sugar does to your brain. If this sparked your curiosity, hit subscribe and tap that bell, because every Sunday and Friday, MindSpark Explained breaks down another question you didn't know you needed answered. I'll see you in the next one. Maybe grab an apple instead of a cookie this time.